Well, hello, welcome to our reading the of Homer, and we're reading Odyssey Book 6, and we're up to line 258. So we're up to this point here. So Nausikaa has replied to the stranger, and she's giving instructions to him. She stirs him up and to go to the city, and she says, so that I might send you to the house of my strong-minded father. And there they say, there I say you will get to know all of the Phaeacians, as many as are the best ones. And that's where we finished last time. Alla malhodi erdain, Dokies demoi uk epinusain. Now we're going to get a lot of commands and orders here, which is interesting that she gives these. And here Homer uses the infinitive in place of the imperative. Now this is quite a common practice in Homer. It's something that's got to get used to. So we're going to see some infinitives, but they're really imperatives. It's almost I bid you to do something, and hence it becomes orders or commands. So come, do or act in the following way, act very much so in the following way. And you seem to me not to be apinusain. This is an alpha privative with this pinus root. So you seem to be not lacking in wisdom. You seem to be not to be a stupid fellow. Ofra an, and you can notice we get on the next line tofra, so we get this ofra tofra. So while we are going, now this is actually a subjunctive, but we're getting a short O here rather than the long one. So while we are going in the fields and the works of men, so where men are working, then, this is the ofra tofra, so while we're doing that, for that time, again we get an infinitive here, ukesthai. So go quickly with the servant girls. Meth, this is behind or after. So behind the mules and the hamaksa, or the amaksa here, the wagon. And I will lead the way. But epain, but when ebeomen, so it's whenever. Again, this is a subjunctive here with a short linking vowel. So whenever we set foot in the city, which, or rather around which, notice the accent on peri, so it's referring back to the hain, around which, understand, there is a high tower. Now, she says whenever, but she never actually finishes this particular clause here, because she gets carried away describing the rest of the city, and so the story will resume a little bit later, but she never actually finishes off this particular clause. So when we set foot on the city around which there is a high tower, and hekaterthe, probably on both sides of the city, there is a beautiful harbour, a fair harbour, limain, lepte dysithme, and a narrow entranceway to the harbour, and the ships, which are amphibeles there, and this is a word here, probably means something like well-rounded or something. So the rounded ships are eruatai. Now this alpha here is really a sonant N, which is written as an alpha, so it's aruntai, but it's written as an alpha. This is typical of Ionic dialect. You'll see this in Herodotus as well. So this actually, although it looks like third person singular, it's third person plural. Of course it has to be with the subject neis. So the ships are drawn up, so the curved ships are drawn up to the hodon, well, literally to the road. So when they come on land, they draw them up along the way or the road. and we get an explanatory gar here, for everyone, for each one there is an epistion. Well, this is something like a dock or a slip, dockyard, where so each person's got their own little docking area to put their ship. And there is an agora, probably not here a marketplace, but a place of assembly. There is a place of assembly. This is for them. It's like spissy. And around it is a kalon posidaion. Now these nouns ending in aion is to do with a temple. So around it is a beautiful or a fair temple of Poseidon. Rutoisin la esin kat orekesin arawia. This is a slightly tricky line. We get a participle here, and it's agreeing with the agora. So it's from ararisco to fit. So this is having been fitted. It's a perfect participle. The laesi are rocks or stones. The kat orekes, this is an adjective, kat orukthes, connected with the verb orusso, to dig. So it's something like embedded in the ground. And the rutois is literally hauled or dragged. The sense being that these stones are so big you can't carry them, you've got to drag them. So he translated as something like fitted with huge or perhaps quarried, deep embedded stones. Something like that there, set firm or embedded stones. And there, Allegusi, they care for, they look after the hopla. Now, in the context of hopla, normally is a weapon, but hopla in regard to ships refers to the tackle of the ships. That is the ropes and the masts and all the bits and pieces. So there they look after the tackle of the black ships. And then in opposition to that we get what she's talking about, the pesmata kai spera. The pesmata often it refers to these ropes called horses, Hawsers, the hawsers or houses. These cables to be used to tie up the masts and so on. So something like cables and sails here. This is connected with a root meaning to bind or to tie up. So it's the cables and the sails, and apoksunusin eretma. Now the eretma, that's neuter plural for the oars. There's a variant reading here. The apoksunusin literally means they sharpen the oars, which is possible. They're making the oars by taking a piece of wood and sharpening up the ends. There's an alternate reading, apoksuusi, without the nu here, and that would mean to scrape off or to smooth out, and that possibly might be a better reading here. It sort of makes a bit more sense. The oars would have been covered with barnacles and seaweed and so on, so they clean them up basically. But anyway, as it reads at the moment, this particular word means they sharpen the oars. Uga phi akesin mele bios udi pharetre. Now, mele normally in later Greek is impersonal, but here in Homer it's actually has a subject, which is bios. Now, bios means the bow, and the phatere is the quiver. So the bow and the quiver are not of concern to the Phaeacians, so they're not interested in going out hunting, but the histoi, these are the masts, and the eretma, and the oars of the ships, and the essai, the balanced ships, in which rejoicing, Peroosi, from Peroo, they cross the grey sea. Ton Elieno Femin Adukia Metis Odyssey Momuoi. So now Eliena is I avoid, so I avoid the Adukia. This is something like unkind, bitter or harsh, fame in speech of them. So what she's saying is here that whilever they're off in the fields, then he just follows behind, but she's worried that when they get near to the city and they see him, then unkind words will be said. So it's almost I wish to avoid. So I avoid the unkind report of them, lest someone hereafter momue. Momuo is to blame or reproach. You get momos in later Greek. So someone might reproach or make a rude comment or something. Maladesin hupathialoi katademon. Remember, demos always in Homer means the land, not the people. So they are, there are very many, or there is much hupathialoi, impudent men, arrogant men. So there are impudent men all over the place, katademon, in the land. So there are impudent men in the land. Kai nu, the nu is hard to translate, perhaps like something like surely, and surely someone who is kakoteros, who is more base, antibolesas, meeting up with us, sort of running into us almost. So surely someone running into us, meeting up with us, someone who is more base, might say, Hodi, the following. And then she gives some examples of what sort of unpleasant things they might say. Tis de hodi Nausikaa, hepatai kalos te megas texenos. So who is this man who follows Nausikaa, this beautiful and great stranger? Pu de min hure, where did she find him? Posis nu hoi esatai aute. Surely he will be a husband for her. So the hoi is with the aute here, it's emphatic. So he will be her husband. Or tina pu plankthenta commissatai hes aponaos andron tali dapon epe utines enguthinesin. Now the verb is here, commissar has the sense of taking care of again, or perhaps almost rescuing, taking care. So she is taking care of someone. So the pu is indefinite. So surely perhaps she is taking care of some one who is wandering from Plasdo, who has been wandering from his ship. Now the haste here is that personal adjective, so it's feminine agreeing with naos, but it's a personal adjective, so from his ship. Someone from among the men who are talidapon, who are from a foreign land, from a faraway country. Since there is nobody nearby, remember that they live, it's been emphasised, they live in a place far, far away from anybody else, and so there's nobody nearby, there's no neighbours, so he must have come from some place that was far away. So these are the various options that they might say, or perhaps some polyuretos. The root here of ar here is prayed to, so some god much prayed to has come to her as she was praying, katabas, having come down uranothen from heaven, and she will have him Hermatapanta all her days. So perhaps it's some god that's come down from heaven. So they're being sarcastic. Belteron, we've got to supply esti here. It would be better, a kaute, if she herself, ep oikomene, going around, if she found a husband, alathin, from elsewhere. For surely, tus digatimazde katademon phi ekas. For surely she, in fact, she dishonours these Phaeacians, katademon, about the land, who, and there's many of them and they're very noble, who are wooing her, min for Autan. Hos ereus, and thus they will say, and these things would be reproaches or insults, emoi, for to me. And it's almost and indeed, nemeso, I will be angry, ale, with another woman, whoever, so the two words here, but later Greek would be one, whoever might do such things. So whoever, in fact, might do such things, to get the get in there, who are ekati, without the permission of, or without the willingness of her father and mother, her dear ones. Iontone, probably used in that sense that you get in later Greek, while they're still alive. So you could take the philone, you could take the eartone here as going with the philone. So without the knowledge of her father and mother when they're still alive, their dear father and mother when they're still alive, if she might misgetai, if she might mingle with men before indeed she comes to a gammon, a marriage, which is amphadion, which is open or public, so before she comes to a public marriage. And we'll continue this in the next recording.